Good morning, guys. Well, good afternoon. It is Tuesday, January 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. January 5th. Man, the Christmas holidays screw me all up. I have no idea what day it is. I know what month it is. Cam asked the other day when it was going to be January, and I acted like, that's crazy. But meanwhile, I really have any idea what day it is. So, it's Tuesday, January 5th. Start of the new year. I haven't seen you guys since last week when it was 2020. Now it's 2021. And we're still in the same position. But I'm hopeful that this year is going to be better for everybody. So I hope you are too. We're going to get right into it today. I have a little bit of a plan to kind of do a nice full body opening and stretch, and just give you some ideas for if you want to incorporate yoga into your everyday life. Just a couple basic things that would hit everything for you without requiring a ton of time or a huge commitment on your part. So we're going to get right into it. You're going to unroll your mat, grab a little blanket or towel, something that you can sit up on if you need that little bit of a pelvic tilt while we're doing some seated stuff. And I will meet you on your mat in just a second, okay? I am doing this during virtual school lunch, so we've got a limited time period, and Cam has been sent to his room with the iPad to relax for a little while before he has to go back to school at 2. Alex is in another room, and the dog is crated around this corner because she'll go nuts if she sees or hears anything outside. So I wanted to be able to give you guys my full attention. So I hope you had a good New Year. I know a little bit different for some people, but I mean, honestly, for my little family, it wasn't that much different than usual because normally on New Year's Eve it's just the 4 of us, and it was again. But we had a nice night. We had our usual array of crappy appetizers and little fancy sandwiches. We played our favorite card game, Spoons, and I lost every single game. It came down to me and Alex usually, and I lost every time. I didn't hit anyone though, and nobody jumped on the table, so we're improving in our behavior, in our sportsmanship. We also watched a movie called The Quiet Place, and it was kind of creepy. John Krasinski, about post-apocalyptic world where you can't talk because there's monsters that can't see, but they can hear everything really, really sensitively. So if you talk, you're dead. So they had to learn sign language, and it was a good movie. It was an interesting movie. It wasn't super scary, but it was a little bit creepy. The worst part for me as a woman was that the wife in the movie was pregnant, and she had to give birth alone in an empty, cold bathtub, silently. Silently. No crying, no screaming, no heavy breathing. Silently. That was the scariest part of the whole movie. Maybe the scariest part of any movie I've ever seen. It was horrific that had to happen to her. But then I started to think about it and think, well, why in God's name would you get pregnant when you're not even allowed to talk? Surely you could have done something else, like played Spoons that night. So we did that, and the night went really quick. Before I knew it, it was 11:45, and we put on Ryan Seacrest, who looked ridiculous. His hair looked super fake, like toupee-ish, right? I missed the J-Lo performance though, but she's amazing. 50 years old, amazing. We ate our 12 grapes, Cuban tradition, one for every month of the year for good luck. Drank our sparkling cider, kissed, hugged. I went to bed, and the guy stayed out here and played video games as if nothing was even going on. So it was good. And then the next day we had dinner with my parents at their house, and they're really the only other people that we see in general, except for my best friend and Alex's best friend. So things were fairly normal for us. But I know for some people it was a big change to not have a big party or go to a big party. So hopefully whatever you did was memorable and safe, and you're feeling good and strong and healthy and most importantly hopeful, right? Okay, so you're noticing I'm fidgeting a lot, right? I'm super fidgety today. Lay on your back, arms at your side, palms up. Palms up. Close your eyes and start to take some deep breaths. I'm wearing my Jesus Take the Wheel shirt again. My best friend currently has COVID, and she just found out that both of her parents, who live in another state, tested positive last night as well. So that's a lot. And right now, everyone in my best friend's house in Nutley is testing negative, but they were with her parents last weekend. So kind of sounds to reason that they're probably going to need to get retested. And by the time Nancy can come out of her room and go into Gen Pop downstairs, her kids and her husband are probably going to have to go up into their rooms and be confined for 10 days and stay away from her. So we'll see what happens. But certainly a concern. I think she's had it fairly easy, but it's still super crummy. And she's healthy, she's in good shape, she's in her mid-40s, and she's struggling with the energy level, upset stomach, headaches, heaviness on her chest. So if you're a prayer, keep her in your prayers, Nancy and her parents, Sally and George. So I didn't mean to wear my Jesus Take the Wheel shirt, but I was getting dressed and showered and changed as she was texting me that her parents tested positive, and I just pulled it off a pile of clean laundry. So kind of serendipitous, right? I love that word. All right, close your eyes. If you haven't found your breath yet, find your breath. You're inhaling and you're exhaling. Just trying to calm yourself, trying to slow down and relax your central nervous system, trying to bring a little bit of peace to your body internally through your breath. I know I said this last week too, like I couldn't wait to have the moment, the time to do this class, to teach this class and talk with you guys and just have some time to practice yoga that wasn't like 10 minutes in the morning or 10 minutes in my car or whatever the case was. And today I feel the same way. I think that's why I'm fidgety, because I'm just excited to be here with you. I am doing 2 American Cancer Society challenges this month. If you don't know what this is and you're someone who works out pretty regularly, it's kind of a fun way to bring awareness to the need for a cure for cancer, as well as raise a little money and challenge yourself every month. So if you're on Facebook, you just go to American Cancer Society and it's all over the place and you'll see what it is. But the 2 challenges for this month are 100 miles, either run or walk throughout the month of January, as well as 25 push-ups a day. So the 100 miles might sound kind of daunting and ridiculous, but I've always been a walker or a jogger, but after COVID and quarantine and lockdown, I had so much more time that doing 120 miles or 125 miles a month wasn't even a thought, because I just had the time and I would do it. So the 100 miles a month is no big deal. The 25 push-ups a day are kind of challenging though, because you don't want to do like knee push-ups forever or wall push-ups forever, or incline push-ups forever. You kind of want to do the real deal, and that's what I'm working on. But it really hurts. It's really, really hard. So those are the 2 things I'm doing this month. So I do it early in the morning. I try to get out of the house before 7 or around 7, unless my husband's home and I can go a little bit later so he can do school. I put under eye cream on because I'm super dry, and I think I forgot to rub it in. So when I was saying hello to you, I might have had white cream under my eyes. I'm not entirely sure, but whatever. It's COVID. So I think that's why I'm a little fidgety. I'm tight. I might have said this to you before too. I'm bad at just stretching when I work out. It's something that I want to make a more intentional effort towards this year, but very often practicing yoga is my stretch. So, all right, bring your knees in, bring your arms out, palms out, big T. Drop your legs over to your right. Get them down, get them settled, get them planted, stacked, inner knee to inner knee, inner ankle to inner ankle, inner arch of the foot to inner arch of the foot. And then pay attention to the back of the left arm. Even unroll it again if you have to. So bring the left arm in, tap your right shoulder, and then unroll the arm slowly, intentionally. Plant it down on the ground and kind of snuggle it into the mat. So the legs are heavy on one side, the arm is heavy on the other side, and in the middle, you're just trying to find this nice, relaxed, easy breath and place to settle and breathe. I just showered when I got home from working out, but I'm always worried when I do this that bottoms of my feet are going to be really dirty for some reason, even though I vacuum and stuff all the time, so I know they're not. But if you could see close, you'd see how gross the bottom of my feet are, dry and just in constant need of lotion and massaging. But when you practice yoga, you can't do that because then you can never ever stand or grip on your mat. I put hand lotion on maybe, I don't know, an hour ago, and I haven't needed to wash my hands since then, so I'm a little bit worried that that's going to be a concern, but we'll see. Take another couple of deep breaths. You know, when your arms are wide open, you're in this perfect sublime position to just breathe really deeply. To inhale, hold the breath, and then slowly exhale, whether it's through your mouth or your nose, either one, it doesn't matter. And then do one more deep breath. And exhale. All right, bring the knees up to center and come on into a happy baby, or one hand on each kneecap, going wide, letting the weight of your arms pull you wide, opening the hips, opening the hamstrings, opening anything sciatic that might be going on in the back of your hip. Alex gave me the most delicious tea at Christmas. Alex is my 14-year-old, if you don't know, and he gave me this really great organic Earl Grey that has lime and lemon flavors kind of as the undernote of it, and it's really, really, really delicious. So I've been drinking a lot of that because this cold weather is for the birds, and I'm not a bird, and I hate it. So I kind of have to take hot showers and drink hot things and try to keep myself from the inside out. But this tea is really nice, so look for it if you like tea. Okay, knees come back in, arms come back out. Drop your legs over to the left, stack them, let them be heavy. And then let's do the same thing. So rather than just bring the right arm out and settle it, bring it in, tap your left shoulder, and then slowly uncurl the right arm. And with a ton of intention, plant that arm down into the back of your mat and down into the ground on the right side of your mat. You know, when you do something that you think is kind of weird, and you're not sure other people picked up on it or not, so you don't want to call attention to it, but you suspect maybe it came across as a little crazy. So I was trudging up the hill this morning, and I saw these two women that I see a couple times a week walking on Ridge. And I usually just say, like, I know them from South End, but I don't really know their names. I only know one of their names, so I usually just say, "Hi, ladies," and I keep walking. But today, there was a third woman with them, and I do know her name, and we're not, like, great friends or anything. We're just acquaintances, but I hadn't seen her in months and months and months, and I think I was so happy to see another face because, you know, quarantine, you don't see a lot of people, that I feel like I practically jumped across the sidewalk to yell, "Hi, Jen," like a weirdo. And she kind of just gave me this huge smile and kept walking. And then at one point, for some reason, I turned around to look back at them, and she turned around to look at me, probably thinking, "Freak." And then I was kind of like, "Hi." It was weird. It was super weird. So the rest of the way home, I thought, well, maybe I should message her and just be like, "I'm not that weird. I was just happy to see you." But I think I should probably just leave it alone and let it go away. Knees up to center, happy baby, or one hand on each kneecap, going wide with your arms. And again, letting the weightiness really plant the femur into the hip socket, but at the same time, going up that natural curve on the back of your hip to open up the hamstring and maybe release any tightness that's surrounding the sciatic nerve in the piriformis muscle. That would be nice, right? You can tell that my tea's not super hot because I'm able to guzzle it a little. Not as hot as maybe it should be, but it tastes good. All right, roll over to your right. Come on up to sit, just like me. I like to, if you're newer to my classes, that's something else I wanted to mention, you guys. I don't know if it's a New Year's resolution thing. I don't know if it's a cold weather thing, but the attendance, so to speak, on these classes lately has been like more than double what it's been for the last couple months. So that's been kind of fun to watch and interesting for me to watch, thinking that it might be New Year's resolutions and people are using yoga on YouTube with me as their New Year's resolution. So thank you. If you haven't been doing this for a while and you're new, thanks. The more people that watch, the more likely the town is to keep the classes going, which I think has been a really nice offering from the Student Growth Library for the last almost 10 months. That's why we're up to class, I don't know, it's today 62 or 63 class-wise. I'm not sure, but it's a lot of classes. I know that. So, sit up. I don't know if I've ever explained this well, but I like to sit up on I have these Mexican blankets, like this. You don't have to have this kind, but if you have one like this or an army blanket, this is a really good thing to use because it's a little bit chunkier and it doesn't flatten quite as much when you do put your weight on it and sit on it. So what you do is fold it up, put it on the end of your mat, sit on it, and then wiggle off of it so that you're really sitting on your mat, but the edge of your tailbone is up on the ledge of the blanket. And what that does is help to tilt your pelvis forward so that when you're sitting up, you don't feel like you have to like fold into yourself. You feel like you can sit up nice and straight and tall, get a tall, straight spine, tip your pelvis forward a little bit, roll the shoulders back, and just in general have a better posture while you're sitting up, which feels better, but is also much better for you. So we're going to sit up on the edge of our blanket, towel, Afghan that your grandma made, couch pillow, whatever it is. And we're just going to start to go a little bit side to side. Have you guys been going anywhere? I know that's a risky question, but like after Christmas stuff, like CVS, Target, anywhere? I haven't gone anywhere. Usually I like to go and troll Target for after Christmas sales on Christmas stuff for next year, but this year it just seems not that important, I guess. But next year when I'm buying full price wrapping paper, I'm going to be a little annoyed that I didn't mask up and run into Target. Maybe, maybe not. Alright, now from the rocking, go right into circling. This is also referred to sometimes as mixing the bowl. Your bowl being your pelvic area. And you're just moving around in a circle. You can go in either direction. I think I'm going clockwise. To you it might be counterclockwise. I'm not good at that. If you've ever taken live classes with me, I typically switch direction. I typically start off by apologizing for my left and right directional dyslexia, because when I'm doing something, it's hard for me to quickly in my head switch to the action that you're doing, the direction that you're doing it in. So I tend to say the wrong thing a lot as far as left and right go. And I think it's the same when I'm using my phone to film, because I'm watching myself and I can see what I'm doing, but I'm not always sure how to compute that into what you're seeing. So come to a standstill. Now we're going to crunch our shoulders up to our ears, but our hands are going to rest right on our thighs, right above our knees. So crunch up, and then when you exhale, so inhale and exhale, and let them drop. Inhale and exhale, and again. Let's do one more. Inhale up and exhale. Now we're going to do a head tilt. So right ear towards the right shoulder. When you're doing this, you're not doing it for the, if your head is going to the right, you're not doing it for the right side of your neck, you're doing it for the left side of your neck. So you want to make sure that you don't just bring your head over. You want to make sure that you move it around a little and try to find that super tight spot on the left side of your neck that you can lengthen by reaching the crown of your head across to the right side of the room. So sometimes there might be a lot of tight spots. Like for me, doing this today, I don't think I'm going to settle in one place, because it doesn't feel like one spot is any more tight than the others. I feel like kind of moving my head a little bit is just lengthening everything that needs to be lengthened. And then we're going to come up and we're going to go to the other side. So left ear to left shoulder. And remember, when you're on the left side, you're doing it with the intention of opening up the right side. And what you found to be true on the right side, I have to name my eye, might not be true on the left side. You know, depending on how you sleep, or if you cradle your phone between your ear and your shoulder on one side, you might be tighter on one side than the other. Feels good though, right? Come on up to center. Now chin drops to the chest. This is a breathing one, so actually watch me first. On the inhale, my chin is going to go to my chest. So on the exhale, I'm going to go all the way up and back, opening up the front of my throat. And then I'm going to inhale down, then exhale back. So you want to find a little moving rhythm here. Don't get caught up on the breath work. If you can manage to move in turn with your breath without it stressing you out too much, then do it. If you can't, then don't do it, and just move your head around a little bit. So we're going to do, we did 2, we're going to do 3 more, and do them at your own pace, okay? Guys, now we are going to go into just a simple side body stretch. And what I wanted to tell you about the simple things that we just did, you're seated, right? You're grounded, you're safe, you're secure, you don't have to worry about balance. When you're doing things that specifically move on your breath, it's really nice if you can shut your eyes and make them a little bit of a breathing meditation. And I know that sometimes if you're standing, or you're in dog, or you're upside down, or you're in a, some kind of a any kind of a balance pose, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. When you're seated and you know that you're okay, it's a good chance to work with closing the eyes and trying to get into a slightly different spot with your yoga practice than you might usually. So the next time we do something like that, I'll remind you, but keep it in mind, okay? So we've done this a million times. You're going to come down onto the right forearm, Left arm is going to go up and over, but what I want you to do is be very conscious of keeping the back of the left hip and butt cheek and thigh down on the ground. You don't want to roll over and lift like that. You want to stay planted, and you want to come onto the forearm, staying planted with the back of the hip, even if you have to like manually taking your hand and kind of forcing it down. Force it down so that you know what it should feel like when you're down there. And then go up and over. And if your neck feels good, turn your head up towards the ceiling and look up. If your neck's feeling a little bit uncomfortable, then just look straight ahead. You can reach as much with your arm as you're comfortable, but make sure the back of that left hip stays down. Take a couple nice deep breaths here. And then come on up. Now, we're going to go into our rocking for just a second, and then we'll go back to the other side. I love this under eye cream. It stays very moist feeling. It's not sticky, but you know that it's there, and I love it. I use it at night sometimes too, but sometimes at night my allergies act up, and then I wake up and my eyes just feel really gross and itchy. So since I apparently don't wear makeup ever anymore because of quarantine and COVID, sometimes I just slap it on during the day after a shower. I moisturize, and then I put a big thick layer of that under my eyes. But it's really nice. It's Mario Badescu. I like their lip products. I like their under eye products, but it's a nice thick one. I think you can buy it on Amazon if you need one. It's a good one. All right, now we're going to do the same side stretch on the other side, this time focusing on keeping the right hip down. So you come onto the left forearm, right hip, keep it down there, keep it down there. My right hip is a tighter hip for me, but in this pose it doesn't bother me. It stays just as grounded as the left. I don't have to fight with it. Sometimes you have to fight with it, you know, and this isn't one of those poses, but for you it might be, in which case, press into that hip crease, press into that femur, press into the outside of that hip. Really give yourself the feeling of what it should feel like when you're grounded versus the rolling up. And then when you're ready, reach across with the right arm. Same thing. If your neck feels a little uncomfortable, look straight at me. If it feels okay, twist it and look up. Same principle with your head if you were doing triangle or extended side angle or, you know, some kind of a warrior. A balanced pose, a standing pose in general is what I'm saying. Come on up. Now we're going to go right down towards the middle into a forward bend over our legs, but we want to do this with the intention of lengthening from our low back, swooping underneath our tush, going underneath our hamstrings, underneath the back of our knees, underneath our calves, and out through our heels. So you start with your feet, pull the toes back, press out through the heels. Right away when you do this, you should feel a lengthening in the arch, right? Do you feel a lengthening in your arch? The more you can pull your toes back and press out through the big toe mound and press out through the heel, the bigger that stretch in the arch becomes, right? You want your feet to be a couple inches apart. Sit up straight and tall, so you're perched up on the edge of your blanket or towel. Your pelvic bowl, so to speak, is tipping a tiny bit, but it's giving you that ability to sit up really straight and tall. Inhale the arms up. Big breath in. And as you exhale, start to hinge forward at the hip crease, which is right here, leading with your heart center, so leading with your chest. You're not rounding your back. If anything, you've got a little bit of an arch in your back, which might be unusual for a forward bend, but it's the way you want to do it. Come down as low as you're comfortable. Grab whatever you're comfortable grabbing. Engage the core a little bit, create some extra space in that low belly area. And then when you're ready, then you can fold a little bit deeper and drop more into the forward bend. Or this may be as far as you're comfortable coming, or hands back here may be as far as you're comfortable coming. Wherever you are, perfectly fine. But just settle in there for a minute and find your breath, okay? release your forward bend, and come on up. So I want you guys to lay on your back for a second and come on into happy baby. So you're reaching for the outer edges of your feet or your big toes. You're bending your knees in towards your armpit area. Bottoms of the feet are facing up towards the ceiling, and you're finding a little bit of movement on your low back, either left to right or front to back, whatever feels best for you. Okay, come on back up to sit. So what we're going to do is thread our toes for just a second. You're going to pull one of your feet in. It doesn't matter which one. Whichever one you want first is fine. I instinctively always pull my left in because my left hip is my looser hip. So it just feels more organic, I guess, a little more natural for me. But you want your foot in front of you. You're going to take your fingers and you're just going to play with your foot a little. Kind of massage your arch. Don't you miss massages so bad? You could cry. I do. I do. That's one of the little luxuries in life that I miss really badly. I don't care who it is. I don't care how much money they want from me per minute. I don't care if they want me to stay fully dressed in a puffy coat or if they want me to wear a sheet and a handkerchief. I don't care. If somebody is willing to massage me and they know what they're doing, I am all in for that every single time. So I miss that. But right now, you know, if you're out there walking or running, if you're just cleaning your house, whatever it is that you're doing, if you're putting a lot of hours in on your feet every day, it can feel good to give yourself a little bit of a tiny foot massage. You know, when we watch movies and stuff at night, there's always someone else on the couch. There's always a kid on the couch with me. And I'll always ask whoever it is if they want a little foot rub. And they're always very happy to plop their feet in my lap and get a quick little foot rub because it feels good for everybody. I don't know anyone who doesn't like it. All right, so now we're going to get into the threading part. So this can be a little bit uncomfortable. You're going to take your pinky finger and you're going to put it in between your pinky toe and the other toe next to it. And you want to go kind of hard, like towards the middle of your finger. You don't want to use the skinniest part of your finger. You want to use like the middle part of your finger. And then the next finger, your ring finger, goes in between the next two toes. And then you've got your middle finger. It's getting a little bit more uncomfortable because now your fingers are getting bigger in between the next two. And then you've got your pointer in between your big toe and the toe next to it. Okay, so you've got lots of space in between each toe right now. And now you're going to take your hand and pull your foot front to back and kind of rock it front to back, keeping the fingers in place, moving the toes back and forth with you. Have you ever heard of yogi toes? Yogi toes? It's a real thing. I can't explain it. One of my feet has a better toe spread than the other, and I've been practicing yoga for 20 years. When you stand up, we'll do it in a few minutes together, but when you stand up to do like mountain pose or a standing forward bend and you look down at your toes, you want to try to spread them big toe to pinky toe wide on your mat. Just to get a better foundation, to put some room in there, to uncramp them from whatever shoes you might wear. And it takes time, but they start to do it on their own after a while. And then you get this nice little spaciousness. I don't know if that's the right way to say it. You get this nice space between your toes that can feel really good. But doing this can help encourage that, and it can help relieve some foot ache, some foot cramping. All right, slide your fingers out. It's going to feel really good to get them out of there. And then extend your leg out in front of you and look at your toes. And just for a minute, they should have that extra space between each toe that you kind of forced in there for a second. And that, the way that looks, is what you want all the time when you're standing up. So memorize that. And every once in a while, like when you're in bed at night, or you're folding clothes, or watching a movie, whatever the case is, thread your fingers in your toes and just kind of play with that for a second. So we're going to do the other foot. Did you hear that? That was my hip. My hip clicked. Okay, we're gonna massage for a second first. So kind of massage your arch. That's usually what I go for, my arch. And to be honest with you, since COVID, even long before COVID, I've always admired beautiful heels and women that can wear beautiful heels. I've even bought some with the intention of wearing them and then have never ever worn them because I think shoes can be so pretty. But I've always been more of a flip-flop girl or an Ugg boots girl or running shoes for sure. So my feet kind of go through ups and downs, and I tend to have flatter feet. So sometimes they feel great, and then sometimes they feel really crummy because I don't have a good arch. So that's why finding running shoes is always good running shoes that feel good, not necessarily like the most expensive, but just ones that work for me is always really high on my list of priorities because I can always tell instantly within a day when a running shoe is starting to fall apart on me because my knees will start to hurt. And right now I've got two pairs that I love and I'm rotating them every day. But, you know, in 6 months I'll put, I don't know, 700 or 800 miles on a pair of running shoes. So every couple months I have to be on the lookout for a new replacement to start to sub in. Okay, so we're going to thread our fingers. And keep in mind that like everything else you do in yoga, this foot is not necessarily going to feel like the other foot. Like this one feels a whole lot tighter to me. And I'm not sure why that would be. This is my tighter hip side. So maybe in general that whole side is tighter, but it feels a lot less comfortable. So start to move back and forth, keeping the fingers in there. If this feels really miserable for you, take some nice deep breaths. We're not going to hold it for long, I promise. And obviously this would be a lot more comfortable and easier with some good lotion, but like I said earlier, when you're practicing yoga, you don't want to lotion your feet because you'll slide all over your mat. So if you're sitting on the couch watching TV tonight and you decide to do this, grab some lotion. Help yourself out. Okay, ready? Take a look at your foot. See the space, see the spaces? So they weren't quite as pronounced on me before. I've always got some spaciousness, but not quite like this. So it definitely makes a difference, and over time it'll make a nice big difference. But in general, it's just good for your foot to not have all your bones going into like a peak, you know, to kind of spread things out. So, all right, we are going to come up onto hands and knees. I am going to grab tissue right here. I don't know why I didn't put them next to me earlier, but this is the season for me to be constantly blowing my nose. Sorry about that. All right, fingers spread, nice and wide. So what I was talking about a minute ago with toe spread, when you come down on your mat onto hands and knees, you spread your fingers nice and wide too, right? We never go into cat and cow with our hands like this. We never would do that. That would be awful, and it would tighten our shoulders and it would feel crummy. We always spread our fingers. But it's not as easy to spread your toes. It's something you want to practice and play with. So maybe think about that as we start a new year. One more fun aspect of yoga that you can be intentional about. We're going to cat and cow here. So knees are about hip width apart. Toes can either be curled under or out flat, whatever you prefer. And we're going to move on the breath. So inhale, drop your head, press your spine up. Exhale, arch your back, and look up at me. And keep moving like that. And again, remember what I said earlier, that when you're doing a pose where you're safe and you're balanced and you're grounded, shut your eyes and try to make it a little bit of a moving meditation. Now from here, we're going to just move our hands forward a little bit so that when we lean our shoulders over our wrists, our knees are behind our hips, okay? So bring your weight forward, pelvis to the ground, coming into a high cobra, and then from here, we're going to press our hips back to our heels, arms come out in front straight. Inhale forward, high cobra, settle your way into it, and then press back, lengthening the spine, opening up the back of the hips, doing a lot of good things. Inhale forward. My hair is too fluffy today, and I thought I'd go nuts and part it on the other side, and it's not working out well for me. Press back. Inhale forward, we're going to do 2 more. And again, this is one you can close your eyes for if you want to intentionally move on the breath as a moving meditation. One more. All right, so you're in a high cobra. Legs are out long behind you. You're going to curl your toes under, press into your hands, lift your hips, come right up into dog. There you go. Drop your heels down, get a big stretch in the back of your legs, hamstrings down through the back of the knees, down through the back of the calves, into the Achilles a little bit. And then really press down through the big toe mound, dropping the heel. See if you can even get the stretch into the arch of your foot. Inhale forward into a plank with me. Engage your core here. Press back into your dog. And then come down, wide knee, child's pose. Yeah, it's amazing how changing your part can screw up your whole life. Alright, come on up. We're going to come into a back bend. We're going to play a little bit. Nothing we haven't done before, so if you've been with me as a live student before, or if you've been doing the majority of these classes over the last 10 months, then you've definitely done this with me before. We're going to go into a full camel, but we're going to do it in baby steps, doing half camel one side, half camel the other side, higher camel, and then a lower camel. Okay? So here is the rule about camel. Don't necessarily do what I say. Don't necessarily do what I do. Do what feels best for you. Okay? So there's lots of variations. I'll give you different versions so you can figure out what's going to work best in your back. My back happens to be kind of back bendy, and so going down low doesn't bother me too much, but it may be different for you, or you may be nervous. I know sometimes back bends make people a little bit hesitant, so do what you can. You're all alone most likely, nobody to compare yourself to, and if you're doing the class at all, then I'm going to be proud of you no matter what. So just do what you can, and follow along as best as you can. So if you are on a carpet, you're probably okay with just your mat. If you are on a hardwood floor, you might want to fold up your blanket or towel and just slide it under your knees. Some people find that a little bit of extra cushioning helps them out a little bit and makes them more comfortable. Okay? So So we're going to start with our toes out flat, our feet out flat behind us. Hands, you're going to spread your fingers. Hands are going to come to the low back with your fingers splayed out. And you're just going to start to push the hips forward a little and then bring them back to neutral. Push them forward a little, bring them back to neutral. Now, one thing that everyone should have in common here is that when you push the hips forward a little bit, you immediately feel a bit of a stretch in the front of your thighs and your quads. That's a good thing, right? That's the biggest muscle in your body, the quad. And it's tight a lot of the time. Mine are always tight because I try to go up and down hills every day. So I feel this a lot, and probably most of you do. That's normal. Go forward, start to drop the head a little bit more, kind of mimicking what the final pose is going to look like. When you drop your head back, the general rule of thumb is that you should be able to speak. So you drop your head back, you go as far as you're comfortable going, and as long as you can talk, you're okay. But if you have any kind of neck issue or injury, then you're going to need to do what's best for you, right? And totally ignore me. So we're going to go into our first half camel. Curl the toes under and walk the toes in a little. So you'll notice I didn't move my knees at all. I just kind of got the toes in scooched a little bit more, which helps to lengthen the back of my calves and my Achilles, as well as the arch of my foot. So let's do right hand on the right heel first. And if this is hard for you, if this is a problem and this is too low for you to go, keep your hand on the back of your hip. Totally fine. So hand to wherever. Left arm goes up. Hips press forward. So now you feel this big in the front of your quads, right? Hips press forward, head drops back, and you reach behind you. And then come on up. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. It's big. It's a big opener in the front of your body. Big back bend, but I always feel this more in the front, so I don't know where you're feeling it, but it's a good one. It's a good one to keep in mind when you're just feeling cramped and tight and congested in your whole upper body. So left hand to left heel, right arm up. Big stretch, take a big breath in, and come on up. All right, so now we're going to go into full camel. Your first option is to leave your heels high, toes curled under. That helps you to not have to drop as low as you do if your heels are down lower. Now, just because you did the half camel with no problem grabbing your heel, this might be harder for you, so play with it a little. Reach back. And remember, the other option is always hands on the back of the hips. Drop your head. And come on up. It's good, right? But it's a lot. And then the final variation is heels down low. So for this one, you may have to play and reach one hand first, the other hand second. You might have to figure it out a little bit. But only do this if you want to. If you don't want to, no worries. That's a big one. And then we're going to go right from that into a wide knee child's pose. I like to do the counterbalance to a back bend, which is a forward bend, every single time I do back bend. All right, guys, come on up and lay on your back. We've been at this for almost an hour. Can you believe it? Sometimes it's true that when you're having fun, time flies. And yoga for me is fun, so I hope it is for you too. Close your eyes. Let your body be heavy. Let it relax. We did a handful of little things in the beginning, and then we moved for a minute and went right into something bigger, which I hope felt good for you. I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, and I was saying that my goal is always for people to leave a class with me feeling better than they did when they got there. And I was talking about this time maybe 10, 15 years ago. I don't know if it was before kids or after kids, but I taught at this gym that had a large Hasidic population. And so the women at the gym would come to my class wearing skirts. And I had never encountered that before in a yoga class. And it was really hard for me to teach them because they had a hard time moving. They were a little constricted in their movement because of the skirt. And they were wearing leggings underneath, but they never took off their skirts. And it's the only time that I've ever had to give up a class because I felt like I couldn't do it justice. I couldn't teach it right. I couldn't teach it well enough to meet their needs so that when they left the class, they'd feel better than when they got there. And I don't know what started the conversation this morning, but it's honestly, aside from teaching kids, it's like the only time I was ever really frustrated as a teacher, because that's always my goal. So I hope that as you're lying here, that you're feeling good. I hope you're feeling better now than you were an hour ago, whether it's just your mind that's clearer, or a shoulder that was tight, or your hips that were tight, or your back that felt crunched. I hope you're feeling good. You should be, because you did something good for yourself. We talked a lot. I used the word intention a lot today. That's going to be my word of 2021, intention. I want to live my life with more intention, even if it's as simple as drinking more water throughout the day. But I also want to be very conscious of moving through my yoga practice with intention so that I can get the most out of it in the time that I have to practice. Take a deep breath. Exhale the breath. One more inhale. And exhale. Bend your knees, plant your feet, and either rock your way up to a comfortable seated position, or roll over to your right side and then come on up to sit from there. See how much higher this knee is than this knee? Because that hip is so much tighter. That's how you can tell which is your tighter hip when you sit cross-legged. Which knee is like practically touching the ceiling, and for me it's always my right. So, hands come to your heart in prayer. Close your eyes. Take a big full breath in. Exhale the breath. And again, inhale. And exhale. Namaste. Thank you guys so much. I'm always super grateful when I see all the people that watch these classes and do them at home, because for one, I'm afraid that when we get back to live classes here in Cedar Grove, if you guys don't do any yoga, whether it's with me or anyone else, you're going to be a hot mess. And we're going to have to start from the beginning, which I don't want to have to do, because when we left things off last winter, everybody was in such a good spot. So, but also, just because it's nice to see people taking care of themselves in a time that's super stressful, when it would be really easy just to sit on your couch and veg, and you're not doing that, at least not for this time that we have together every week. So I'm thankful for you. I'm grateful for you. I appreciate that you trust me and spend time with me every week. I hope that you have a great week, a healthy week, stay healthy, and I will see you again here next week. Okay? So thank you so much. Take care. Take vitamin C and zinc and stay warm. And I'll see you in a few days. Bye.